Hello, it's Jen, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet my new favorite purse strap. It's soft on your shoulder, it's just over an inch wide. It looks equally great styled on the outside of the purse or on the inside, and check it out with decorative buttons. For this project, you will need 3 skeins of medium weight yarn. Today I'm using Basic Stitch by Lion Brand. You'll need an 11.5mm and an 8mm crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and a ruler. Throughout this project, we'll be carrying 3 strands of yarn. This is going to give us a strap that is strong and also one that has a little bit of thickness to it, which translates to comfort on your shoulder. This project begins by measuring off 1 yard of yarn for every 12 inches of strap length that you want to crochet. The sample I'm crocheting today will be 12 inches in length, so I am measuring off 3 feet or 1 yard of yarn. Just beyond this long beginning tail, we're going to make our slip knot, and then we'll join the working yarn to our larger hook, our 11.5mm crochet hook. So you can see I'm just inserting my hook through the loop of our slip knot. When you pull the working yarn, it brings the knot close to the hook, and now we can start step 1. In step 1, we're going to be making a cord. So we're going to be using the beginning tail and our working yarn as follows. So for each stitch, you're going to take the beginning tail and wrap it front to back over your hook, and then you're going to do a regular chain stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull that yarn over through both the wrapped beginning tail and the loop on your hook. I like to give that beginning tail just a little tug to even out those 3 threads if it's a little bit loose. Okay, let's do that again. So you take your beginning tail and you wrap it over your hook front to back, and then you yarn over just like you would regularly do when making a chain stitch, and you pull it through that wrap stitch and the loop on your hook. Essentially, what we are doing is just making our beginning chain with a little added step, with that added step of wrapping the beginning tail over the hook before each chain stitch. I'm going to do a few more stitches for you here, nice and slow. The things I want you to think about as you're working this beginning cord is to keep your stitches nice and even, and also to keep your tension relaxed. We don't want this to be overly tight or overly loose. Nice and natural stitches right in the middle, whatever is comfortable for you. Whether you're just picking up that beginning tail and placing it over the hook or kind of holding all of the threads at once, I know that you will find your flow and your cord is going to grow and grow. I like to stop and check my work periodically, especially because we are carrying 3 threads. Sometimes a thread can get a little loose on you and you might need to go back and redo a stitch, and that's just a product of working with 3 skeins of yarn at once. Now, if you recall, I am making a sample for you today that I want to be 12 inches long. I have found that this, for me and the size of my stitches, means about 24 stitches. So I am just counting. I have 24 stitches here. When I pull out my ruler, you will see that this is not 12 inches in length yet. But that's okay. What I want you to do is crochet a cord that easily stretches to 12 inches. So when it's lying flat and relaxed, it will be shorter, but it's easy to stretch it to that 12 inches in length. In step 2, we're going to turn our cord into a narrow strap. We're going to start by switching to our smaller hook. We're going from an 11.5 to an 8mm crochet hook. So while you're making that switch, can we just take a moment to appreciate that we just crocheted a very useful cord. Whenever you're in need of a cord for a project, this can be your go-to. Okay, with that being said, let's dive back in and we're going to begin step 2 by chaining 2. And then we're not going to turn our work, we're just going to continue and work across the bottom of the cord. And we're going to go right into these holes created by the stitches, right in the center of the cord. Let me just put my hook back into my loop and let's go ahead and start. We're going to skip over that beginning chain 2, and then to work this step, we're simply going to work one single crochet into each stitch across. To work a single crochet, you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. We switched to this smaller crochet hook because typically single crochets can look a little bit larger than a chain stitch. The goal is to have these stitches look the same size as the stitches from the beginning cord. Please either adjust your tension or the size hook you're using to have these stitches match as closely as you can. We're going to work single crochets across the bottom of our cord. Whatever number of stitches you have in your cord will be the number of stitches that you work right now. So since I had 24 stitches in my cord, I am going to be working 24 single crochets. I am just placing my last stitch and then we can have a look at our narrow strap. By working single crochets across our cord, it has stretched the cord out and now it is measuring right at 12 inches, our goal length, without having to pull on it whatsoever. There is still a little stretch in our strap, but you can see how much this row of single crochets has straightened out our strap. Let's have a closer look at our strap after step 2. I really like the look of this, and I like to think of this side as the right side and the other side as the wrong side, but truly they both look nice and you could choose which side you want to be your right side. Right now it's measuring in at right about an inch, maybe a teeny bit less than an inch or 2.5 centimeters wide. So it is a little bit more narrow, but it's still very strong. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick, so it's got a nice cushion to it and it's going to feel great on your shoulder. So we've made a cord and a narrow strap. Now let's move on to step 3 and make a full-sized strap. We are going to continue with our 8mm hook and work a chain 3. We are not turning our work and going back across like you would do if you were making rows. Instead, we are working our way around the end of the strap and we're going back across the top of the cord. So you are going to skip that beginning chain 3 and work one single crochet into each stitch across. Once again, the number of single crochets you will work is equal to the number of stitches that you had in your beginning cord. In my case, that is a total of 24 stitches. So you can see we're inserting our hook into the very same hole that we did for step 2, just on the other side of the cord, and working these single crochets across. I am going to go ahead and time travel to the end, and I have just a few more single crochets left to reach the end of this strap. Once I've completed my 24 stitches, I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and then I'm going to work an invisible finish off. You can just slip stitch to the next stitch and finish off. I'm going to cut the working yarn, pull on my hook to pull that cut yarn through, and then thread these 3 threads through my yarn needle and do an invisible finish off. To do an invisible finish off, you're actually going to insert your needle not under the next stitch, but the stitch after that. pull the yarn through, and then you're going to go back through the very last stitch made, and you're going to go in between the front and back loops of the last stitch that you made and pass that needle back behind that stitch. When you pull this stitch through, it forms the appearance of a stitch in its place, and then you can just go ahead and weave in this tail end. It just gives you a very smooth, finished look on the outside of your work. I'm just going to show you how I weave in my loose ends one time here. I always like to make 3 passes when I weave in my beginning or ending tails. 3 passes really ensures a secure hold, and you will not have to worry about your work coming apart. I did not weave in the beginning tail yet because actually that can be used to attach this end of the strap to your handbag. Instead, I'm showing you that our finished sample strap is measuring in at 12 inches, which is exactly what we were shooting for. I like to use this side as the outward facing side of the strap and this side as the bottom. And actually, if you look at it from the side, the bottom of the strap does have a gentle curve, which feels very nice on your shoulder. The completed strap is 1.25 inches or 3 centimeters wide. To give you some ideas about how you can attach your strap to a purse or a tote bag, I crocheted this tiny little bag. One option would be to sew your strap to the outside of the bag. Because the ends of the strap are rounded, it looks quite cute, and you can even add a decorative button just for a little bit of ornamentation. So that's one look, but you can also sew the ends of your strap to the inside of your bag, and that's just a very nice, clean look. You might have a bag where you want to make 2 straps, one for the front and one for the back, and this would work really well for that also. The second I did this, I knew I really wanted to bring back the buttons, so I have a button for one side, and I managed to find a second one of the same button so you can see how cute it would look to attach your strap with buttons. I feel like I should clarify that I would always sew the straps on first with the matching yarn, and then perhaps just use buttons as a bit of added decoration. I guess that brings us to the end of today's tutorial. I hope this is one that you'll find useful. I don't know anyone who crochets who hasn't made a bag at some point, and it's just really nice to have a few ideas in your head about how to make a strap. I think the cord is really useful as well. If you're making something like a drawstring bag, you can make a cord out of just one thread and have it be a smaller cord, and you could use that to create drawstrings. I just think that this is going to be a useful tutorial to kind of have in your bag of tricks as you're designing projects of your own. I post new videos on Tuesdays. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time.